The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane. We're on chapter 10 now. And, oops, I'm ahead of myself. Easter term begins. Emma was still thinking about the letter when students started coming back to school a week later. Her holiday had been quite peaceful. But she spent most of her evenings curled up by the fire and chatting with Natalie, who was on the soccer team with Lola and hadn't gone home for the holidays either. It was nice, but Emmy was looking forward to the school getting busier again. It had been overwhelming when she'd first arrived, but now she was used to people spilling out of classrooms and cramming onto couches in the common room. It made the school feel alive. When Jack and Lola showed up, Emmy found herself jumping off the couch and giving them both hugs. "How are the holidays? How are your holidays?" she asked. Lola scrunched up her face. "Dad's got a new girlfriend, a woman named Lacey, who's young enough to be my sister. We asked her to come to the football match, and she said she'd never really understood people who liked football." Emmy cringed. Not liking football was a fast track to Lola's bad side. She looked at Jack. "What about you?" Jack rubbed a piece of lint off his shirt. "Same as usual. I'm just glad we're back where I belong." "Me too," Lola said. Emmy looked at her friends. "Me too." "So how was your holiday?" Lola asked. Emmy bit her lip. She hadn't told anyone about the letter, but she wasn't getting anywhere with trying to figure things out on her own. Maybe it was time to get a little help. "Come on, I want to show you something." Emmy led Jack and Lola up the stairs and into her room. Jack hesitated in the doorway. Boys weren't supposed to be on the Audrey side of the building, let alone in the girls' rooms. "Don't be such a baby," Lola said. "It's not like anyone cares." Jack came in and quickly shut the door behind him. Emmy pulled the letter out of her backpack and explained how she'd gotten it. Then she threw herself down on the bed and sighed. "I just don't get it. Why go all that trouble just to give me an old letter? Well, obviously this person wants you to know that their dad had a brother and that they had kind of had a falling out. So why not tell me? And why send me an old letter instead of explaining it in a new one? Maybe there's a reason this person wants to stay anonymous," Jack said. "You're sure you don't think of anyone who could be doing this?" Emmy tugged at her ear. "I can think of one person." "Who?" "My dad. I think he might be the one doing this. I think he might have been that priest. The one at the church." The room was silent for a few moments. Emmy didn't expect anyone to talk. She didn't know what to say either. Suddenly they heard a girl berating someone outside the door. Victoria was back. Emmy's eyes widened and Lola swore. You're not supposed to be in here," Emmy hissed at Jack. Lola tackled him and shoved him around Victoria's bed just as the door opened. Emmy smiled at Victoria. That was a mistake. Victoria eyed them suspiciously. "What are you two up to?" "Sneaking boys under your bed," Lola casually said. The room went dead silent. Emmy had to bite her tongue to stop herself from laughing. "Fine, don't tell me," Victoria said, and she heaved her suitcase on her bed. Jack grunted and Emily quickly covered it up. Victoria's eyes widened and Emmy held her breath. "You know," Victoria said, "if you're sick, you've got to stay in the medical center. I'm not catching pneumonia because I'm stuck with an unhygienic roommate." She flicked her hair behind her shoulder and left the room. Emmy finally let the air out of her lungs and Lola started to laugh. "It's not funny." Jack crawled out from under the bed and rubbed the back of his head. "First, you throw me under the bed, where apparently no one has vacuumed since the Second World War, and then I'm attacked by the bloody bag." "Oh, I'm sorry," Lola said. "I don't realize you'd be overwhelmed by a plastic pink carrying case." Jack folded his arm across the chest. "What does the color have to do with anything? It's not like being pink makes it any lighter." They were still bickering as they left the room. Emmy picked up the letter and read it again. It was such a weird thing to have. If only she knew why she had it, and if he was the one who had sent it. The weather over the next few days was warmer than usual, which made the long walk to Latin Society a lot more cheerful. The wind died down enough to hear birds chirping, and Emmy even saw a few squirrels scampering between the trees. When she opened the cottage's secret door, Emmy saw fewer people than normal. A lot of people must be skipping society to take advantage of the weather. Brian was there, and Emmy had already gotten her books out of her bag when she realized he wasn't alone. Jack's brother was with him, but it wasn't Malcolm. It was Vincent. Emmy frowned. Why would Vincent be at Wellsworth? He had already graduated. He and Brian had their heads close together, like they were talking about something they didn't want anyone else to hear. But that didn't make much sense. If they wanted to have a private conversation, a school society wasn't the best place to have it. Brian looked up and saw Emmy watching them. He scowled, nodded his head at Vincent, and the two of them moved to the opposite side of the room. No one was sitting over there. When she got back to the common room later that afternoon, Emmy sat next to Jack. Hey, do you know Vincent's here? Huh? I saw him in Latin Society. He was talking with Brian, and they definitely didn't want to be overheard. Jack rubbed his forehead. That can't be good. Yeah. And Jack leaned forward and started to whisper. Vincent was Brian's mentor in the order. Maybe he still is, even though he's left school. Maybe, Emmy whispered. In that case, he might just be catching up with Brian. That doesn't mean they're up to something. Jack shrugged. He looked pretty skeptical. Before he could say anything else, Lola came into the common room and threw her bag down so hard it burst open and spilled her books all over the floor. She swore and started stuffing things back in the bag. Oops, what's up with you? Emmy asked. Natalie stomped into the room behind Lola and threw herself down in a chair. Melina Bacchus went hiking over the holidays and broke her bloody ankle, Lola interrupted. Ouch, Jack said. That's all you have to say? Lola exploded. Our star striker is injured 3 weeks before the start of tournaments, and all you can say is, ouch? Emmy winced. It had been 3 months since she'd played soccer, but she still felt a pang of longing whenever anyone talked about the game. What are you going to do? Natalie sighed. Dylan and Manila are both good forwards. One of them will move to striker, I guess. One of our bench players will move up to regular, and we'll have to find someone else to take their place on the bench. We need 15 players, so we'll have to try for the open spot. Something fluttered in Emmy's chance. An open spot. And just for a bench warmer. The team was a lot better than her team back home, but she might be good enough to sit on the bench. But what about her mom? Emmy tapped her knuckles on the table. No soccer. Her mom had forbidden it. But she's not here. When are tryouts? She asked, as casually as she could. Saturday. It was 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, and Emmy was shivering on the sidelines of the football pitch. She hadn't even been near a soccer ball in months. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she made a complete moron out of herself in front of the whole school? And what if her mother found out somehow? Lola ran over to her with a funny look on her face. You're trying out? Emmy nodded. You have played football before, right? Of course I have, Emmy said a little louder than she meant. Okay, Lola said. Just be prepared. For what? Lola bit her lip. It'll be a tough trial. Emmy's shoulders slumped. You don't think I should do it? It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. I didn't say that. Lola put her arm around Emmy's shoulder. Close your eyes. Now, think of the absolute worst thing that could happen to you today. Tripping over your cleats, scoring on the wrong net, trying to do a header and bashing the ball off your nose instead. Just picture all that bloody dripping down your face. How is that supposed to help? Lola grinned. Because when you are prepared for the absolute worst, nothing can be as bad as what you've imagined. The whistle blew and Lola took her spot on the pitch. Don't bet on it, Emmy grumbled. Each girl had 5 minutes of playing time to show what they could do. Many of them were good, although not as good as Emmy had expected. Some looked like they had potential, but they weren't doing enough to showcase their skills. They weren't being aggressive, and that was the only way to stand out from a crowd. Hey, Emmeline! Called a voice from the stands. Emmy looked back and scowled. It was Victoria. Remember, you're trying to get the ball in the net, not over the top. A few people snickered and Emmy felt her body stiffen. Did you bring your cheerleader pom-poms with you? Victoria asked. Give him an L. Give him an O. Give me an loser. Loser. Emmy kept staring at the pitch. She would not let Victoria get to her. Not today. And there was no way she was leaving this pitch with people thinking she didn't know how to play soccer. The whistle blew and the coach turned toward the sidelines. Willick, she called. You're up. Emmy ran to her position. She could hear Victoria's teasing her, but she didn't care. Victoria didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was getting the ball in the net. The whistle blew again and Emmy took off. A girl was moving the ball up the pitch, but she wasn't paying enough attention to where Emmy was. Emmy slid her foot in front of the girl's and pulled the ball backward. It was hers. She spun around and flew in the opposite direction. Lola was gunning straight for her, and Emmy slowed down to watch her footwork. Then she slid the ball between Lola's legs and met it on the other side. She dodged the next midfielder and picked up her speed. This was where she belonged. Her heart was meant to pound with rhythm of fast feet. Her lungs were meant to feel like they might burst open with the very next step. No matter where she was in the world, the smell of freshly cut grass meant she was home. Natalie was waiting in the defensive zone, but after months of watching her play, Emmy knew how to attack. She faked left to force Natalie to her weak side, then circled around on her right. She reached her foot back and kicked the ball as hard as she could. The keeper dove, but it was way too late. The ball was in the back of the net. Yeah! Emmy turned around and stopped dead. Every person in the stadium was staring at her. It was quiet enough to hear a pin drop. All of Lola's worst-case scenarios raced through Emmy's head. She must have gone for the wrong net or broken some English soccer rules. She should have checked to make sure all the rules were the same. Red side 1-0, the coach called. And Emmy breathed out. At least she'd hit the right net. Yeah! The next few minutes of play were a lot tougher, but Emmy held her own. She had never played with a team this skilled. It was amazing. The time the coach blew the whistle, Emmy didn't want to stop. Thanks very much, girls, the coach said. The team and I will discuss things and the captain will let you know when the decision has been made. Emmy was halfway to the changing room when Lola caught up with her. Hey, Lola said. She had a weird expression on her face, like she was trying to stop from bursting at the seams. What was that? Emmy groaned. She knew it. She had done something stupid. What? What did I do? Lola exploded. What did you do? You got past 3 of our best players and faked out our keeper. That's what. Where did you learn to play football like that? Emmy's face felt suddenly hot. She shrugged. Lola's face looked like it would burst with anger and joy all at the same time. Aren't you supposed to be meeting with the rest of your team? Emmy asked. Lola smirked. It was a short team meeting. The captain's right behind me. The tall 6th-year named Manila was walking toward them with a grin plastered on her face. It's Willick, right? She asked. Emmy nodded. Good. Hope you like playing striker, 'cause you're starting our next match. Emmy's mouth fell open. I thought you were just looking for a bench warmer. Something tells me you don't spend a lot of time on bench, Manila said with a wry smile. But we'll have practices every day this week to break you in. Manila went on. See, you own the pitch tomorrow, right? Right. Manila grinned and walked away. Emmy's stomach jumped in 100 directions. Being chosen was a huge honor, but it also scared her half to death. She'd have to face some really tough teams, and playing striker automatically made you a leader and a target. Lola put her arm around Emmy and dragged her away from the pitch. Come on, let's go celebrate. Emmy felt lightheaded. Striker? I didn't think I'd be starting, she said. Would you rather sit on the bench and watch? No. Then what's the problem? What could she say? Well, my mom forbade me from playing, but I tried out anyway. Sorry, I totally screwed up your whole team. Emmy could see the look on her mother's face if she ever found out. She'd be furious, livid, hurt. She'd be crushed if she knew Emmy was lying to her. But not playing soccer? That hurt too. And if her mother didn't care what Emmy wanted, why should she care what her mom wanted? No, Emmy said. There's no problem. What her mother didn't know wouldn't hurt her. Chapter 11 next.